Hi, I'm Sarah Mitchell, 29, and I'm about to tell you how my boyfriend's phone wallpaper became the most public relationship ending in our friend group's history. My boyfriend of 3 years, Jake Morrison, 31, and I were attending our annual college reunion weekend at Lake Tahoe. It's a tradition that started 5 years ago when our tight knit group of 12 friends decided to rent a house together every summer to maintain the friendships we'd built during our university years. Jake and I met through this friend group 4 years ago and started dating after what felt like a natural progression from friendship to romance. He was charming, successful as a marketing director at a tech startup, and seemed genuinely committed to building a future together. For the past 6 months, Jake had been acting differently, more distant, more protective of his phone, and less interested in making long-term plans together. When I brought up moving in together or meeting each other's extended families, he would deflect with jokes or change the subject entirely. But at the reunion, I was determined to enjoy the weekend and push aside my growing suspicions about Jake's commitment to our relationship. I wanted to believe that the distance I'd been feeling was just work stress or the natural ebb and flow of a long-term relationship. What I discovered on Saturday evening would prove that my instincts had been right all along, and Jake's secret would become everyone's business in the most spectacular way possible. Our friend group has a well-established reunion routine. We rent the same three-bedroom house at Lake Tahoe, assign cooking duties, plan group activities, and spend the weekend reminiscing about college while catching up on our current lives. This year's group included the usual suspects: me and Jake, our college roommates Emma and Tom, now married to each other, Jake's fraternity brothers Mike and Alex, my sorority sisters Lisa and Rachel, and two couples who met through our extended social circle, Kevin and Amanda, and David and Jenna. The house we rent has a beautiful living room with a large smart TV that we use for everything from streaming movies to sharing photo slideshows from past reunions. Everyone knows how to connect their devices to the TV, and throughout the weekend, people regularly airplay photos, videos, and music from their phones to the big screen. Saturday afternoon was particularly fun. We'd spent the day on the lake, and everyone was sharing photos and videos from our various water activities. The living room was full of people lounging on couches, laughing at embarrassing pictures, and reminiscing about similar adventures from our college days. Jake had been relatively quiet all day, checking his phone frequently and stepping outside to take calls that he claimed were work-related. When I asked about the calls, he was vague and dismissive. "Just some client issues that can't wait until Monday," he said when I commented on his fourth work call of the day. "Jake, it's Saturday of a vacation weekend. Can't the clients survive without you for 2 days?" "You know how demanding this job is, Sarah. I can't just ignore important calls." But something about his tone and body language felt off. Jake had never been the type to prioritize work calls over social time, and his defensiveness about the calls was unlike him. Saturday evening, after dinner and a few drinks, our group was settling in for our traditional movie night. We'd been debating between several options when Jake offered to set up the streaming service on the TV. "I'll get Netflix connected," Jake said, pulling out his phone and standing near the TV. "What did we decide to watch?" "The new action movie Tom was talking about," Emma called from the kitchen where she was making popcorn. Jake was fiddling with his phone, trying to connect to the TV's AirPlay. The rest of us were scattered around the living room, chatting and getting comfortable for the movie. That's when I saw it. Jake's phone was in his hand, and the screen was visible to me from where I was sitting on the couch behind him. His wallpaper wasn't the mountain landscape photo I remembered, or a picture of us together, or even a generic Apple background. His wallpaper was a text conversation. Specifically, it was a screenshot of text messages with someone named Sophia, heart, that said, "Can't wait to see you when you get back from your trip. Kiss. Miss you so much, baby. Love you more than anything." I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. Jake had another girlfriend named Sophia, and he loved her enough to make their romantic text conversation his phone wallpaper. While I was processing this devastating discovery, Jake was still struggling with the AirPlay connection. "Why isn't this working?" he muttered, tapping his screen repeatedly. "Sometimes you have to turn AirPlay off and on again," Mike suggested from across the room. Jake continued tapping his phone, completely unaware that I had just discovered his secret relationship. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on me. He was about to project content to our big screen while his phone contained evidence of his infidelity. That's when I made a decision that would change everything. While Jake continued struggling with the AirPlay connection, my mind was racing. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious. But more than anything, I felt a strange sense of clarity about what needed to happen next. Jake had been lying to me for months. He'd been having an emotional affair, and possibly a physical one, with someone named Sophia, while continuing to date me and attend social events where he presented us as a committed couple. More infuriatingly, he'd been careless enough to make their romantic conversations his phone wallpaper, meaning he was looking at evidence of his betrayal dozens of times every day while maintaining the pretense of our relationship. "Jake, let me help you with that," I said, standing up and walking toward him. "Sometimes the connection works better if you restart the phone." "That's okay, I think I've got it," Jake said, still tapping his screen. "Trust me, I've had this problem before. Just restart the phone and try again." I was banking on Jake's frustration with the technology and his slight intoxication from dinner wine to make him accept my help without thinking too carefully about my motives. "Fine," Jake said, handing me his phone. "This is so annoying. The AirPlay was working fine earlier." Perfect. Now I had his unlocked phone in my hands, with his incriminating wallpaper visible, and a room full of our closest friends waiting to watch a movie on the big screen. "Let me just restart this for you." But instead of restarting the phone, I opened his control center and connected to the TV's AirPlay. Jake's phone screen, wallpaper and all, immediately appeared on the 65-inch TV that everyone in the living room was facing. The reaction was immediate and absolute silence. 12 pairs of eyes were suddenly staring at the big screen, which was displaying Jake's phone wallpaper, his romantic text conversation with Sophia Hart in full, high-definition detail. "Can't wait to see you when you get back from your trip. Miss you so much, baby. Love you more than anything." The messages were clear, romantic, and obviously from someone who believed she was in an exclusive relationship with Jake. "What the hell is that?" Emma asked, pointing at the screen. Jake spun around to look at the TV and immediately understood what had happened. His face went from confusion to horror to panic in about 3 seconds. "Sarah, what did you do?" he asked, reaching for his phone. "I helped you connect to AirPlay," I said calmly, holding his phone out of reach. "Looks like it's working perfectly now." "Turn it off," Jake said, his voice rising with panic. "Turn it off right now." "Why would I turn it off?" I asked, innocently. "Everyone can finally see what you've been looking at every time you check your phone." The room was still silent, except for Jake's increasingly frantic demands that I disconnect his phone from the TV. Emma was the first to speak. "Jake? Who is Sophia?" "It's not what it looks like. Those messages are old. They're from before Sarah and I started dating." "Jake, they're time-stamped from yesterday, and they're your phone wallpaper, which means you look at them every time you use your phone." Mike, who had been Jake's fraternity brother and close friend for over a decade, looked disgusted. "Dude, what is wrong with you?" With Jake's infidelity now public and undeniable, the conversation that followed was unlike anything our friend group had ever experienced. "Jake," Tom said, his voice serious and disappointed, "how long has this been going on?" "It's complicated," Jake replied. But his usual charm and deflection tactics weren't working in the face of such obvious evidence. It's not complicated, I said, my voice steady despite the emotional devastation I was feeling. Jake has been in a relationship with someone named Sophia while dating me. He's been lying to both of us. Sarah, you don't understand, Jake started. I understand perfectly. I understand that you've been taking calls from another woman while on vacation with me. I understand that you made her text messages your phone wallpaper. And I understand that you've been lying to me for months. Lisa, who had been my sorority sister and remained one of my closest friends, was looking at Jake with obvious disgust. Jake, this is sick. How could you do this to Sarah? And how could you do this to Sophia? Added Rachel. She obviously thinks she's in an exclusive relationship with you too. Jake was trapped. The evidence was literally displayed on a big screen in front of 12 people who had considered him a friend and respected member of our group. Look, Jake said, clearly grasping for any explanation that might minimize the damage. Sarah and I were having problems. We haven't been connecting lately, and I met Sophia through work. Things just happened. Things just happened, I repeated. Jake, you made her text messages your phone wallpaper. This isn't a casual fling. You're in love with her. The room was watching this confrontation like a car accident they couldn't look away from. Our annual reunion had suddenly become the most dramatic relationship implosion any of us had ever witnessed. I was going to tell you, Jake said weakly. I just didn't know how. You were going to tell me while using her text messages as your phone wallpaper? How exactly were you planning to break that news? What happened next was something I hadn't expected, but was deeply grateful for. Our entire friend group turned on Jake with a collective disgust that made it clear they found his behavior unacceptable. Jake, this is beyond messed up, Alex said. Sarah is our friend. We've all been hanging out together for 3 years, thinking you guys were happy together. We invited you both to this reunion as a couple, Kevin added. We've been including you in couple activities and group plans while you were actively cheating on Sarah. Emma, who had been quiet during the initial revelation, was particularly angry. Jake, I defended you to Sarah 3 months ago when she mentioned that you were being distant. I told her that relationships go through rough patches and that you were probably just stressed about work. What? I asked, surprised by this information. You seemed worried about Jake pulling away, and I told you that Tom goes through the same thing when work gets demanding. I convinced you to be patient with him instead of addressing your concerns directly. The guilt in Emma's voice was obvious, and I realized that Jake's deception had impacted more than just me. It had made our friends unwitting accomplices in his lies. None of this is your fault, Emma, I said. Jake made choices that he hid from everyone. But if I had encouraged you to trust your instincts instead of making excuses for his behavior, maybe you would have discovered this sooner, Emma replied. Mike, who had known Jake the longest, looked genuinely confused by what he was learning about his friend's character. Jake, I don't understand how you could live with this. Every time we hung out as a group, every time you posted pictures with Sarah on social media, every time you acted like her boyfriend in front of us, you were lying to everyone. And what about Sophia? Does she know about Sarah? Does she think you're single? Jake's silence was answer enough. With Jake's secret fully exposed and our friend group united in their disapproval of his behavior, I felt a strange sense of empowerment. For months, I had been questioning my own instincts and wondering if I was being paranoid about Jake's distance and secretiveness. Jake, I said, looking directly at him while his romantic messages with another woman continued to be displayed on the big screen behind us. I want you to call Sophia right now. What? No. Sarah, that's not necessary. It's absolutely necessary. You've been lying to both of us. She deserves to know that you have a girlfriend, and I deserve to know the truth about your relationship with her. I'm not calling Sophia in front of everyone, Jake said, his panic increasing. Then I will, I replied. taking his phone and scrolling through his contacts. "Sarah, stop. You can't just call her." "Why not? If this is all innocent and explainable, then calling her shouldn't be a problem." The room was completely silent as I found Sophia's contact information. Her number was saved with multiple heart emojis, and her contact photo was a selfie of her in what appeared to be Jake's apartment. "Please don't do this," Jake said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Do what? Call your girlfriend? Don't you think she should know that you brought another girlfriend to a couples retreat this weekend?" I pressed call and put the phone on speaker. The phone rang twice before a woman's voice answered. "Hey, baby. How's your boring work conference? I miss you so much." The room erupted in shocked gasps and angry murmurs. Jake had told Sophia that our reunion was a work conference. "Hi, Sophia," I said into the phone. "This is Sarah, Jake's girlfriend of 3 years. I think we need to talk." The phone call with Sophia lasted 20 minutes and revealed the full extent of Jake's deception. Sophia had been dating Jake for 8 months and believed they were in an exclusive relationship. He had told her that he traveled frequently for work, which explained his unavailability during weekends when he was with me. Sophia was devastated, angry, and grateful that I had called to reveal the truth. She confirmed that Jake had been telling her he loved her, making future plans, and giving every indication that she was his only romantic partner. "I can't believe he's been doing this to both of us," Sophia said through the phone speaker while our entire friend group listened in stunned silence. "He told me he was ready to settle down and start a serious relationship." "He told me the same thing," I replied. "Apparently, he meant it, just with both of us simultaneously." After we ended the call with Sophia, Jake attempted one last round of explanations and apologies, but the damage was irreversible. Our friends made it clear that his behavior was unacceptable and that they wouldn't be maintaining friendships with someone capable of such elaborate deception. "Jake, you need to leave," Tom said firmly. "You can arrange your own transportation home. You're not welcome here for the rest of the weekend. And you're not welcome at future reunions," MS added. "We can't trust you, and we won't subject Sarah or any of our other friends to your presence." Jake left that night, and I never saw him again. Our friend group rallied around me for the remainder of the weekend, and I felt more supported and loved than I had in months. 6 months later, I can honestly say that discovering Jake's infidelity in such a public way was one of the best things that ever happened to me. The dramatic nature of the revelation meant that there was no ambiguity, no gaslighting, and no opportunity for Jake to minimize or explain away his actions. Our friend group has remained close, and they've all expressed gratitude that Jake's true character was exposed before he could cause more damage to our social circle. Several friends admitted that they had noticed concerning behaviors from Jake, but hadn't known how to address them without seeming intrusive. "I always thought Jake was too charming," Mike told me during a recent conversation. "In college, guys who were that smooth with women usually had something to hide." The most unexpected outcome was connecting with Sophia, who became a genuine friend. We bonded over our shared experience of being deceived by Jake, and she provided valuable insight into his manipulation tactics that helped me understand how I had been kept in the dark for so long. "He was incredibly skilled at compartmentalizing," Sophia explained during one of our coffee dates. "He made each of us feel like we were the center of his world while maintaining completely separate lives." Sophia and I both learned valuable lessons about trusting our instincts and paying attention to red flags in relationships. We've both started dating other people and have become advocates for honest communication in our respective new relationships. The reunion weekend that was supposed to be a fun getaway with friends became the catalyst for the most important revelation of my dating life. Jake's phone wallpaper, displayed on our big screen for everyone to see, revealed not just his infidelity, but his complete lack of integrity. Sometimes, the most devastating discoveries lead to the most liberating outcomes, and sometimes, technology betrays the people who think they're too clever to get caught. The next time I see someone's phone wallpaper, I'll remember that what people choose to look at every day reveals everything about their priorities and character. If this story shocked you, just wait for what's next. Leave a comment, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and of course, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a single notification.